welcome to the 28th and best episode of the Hashcast. And as always, I have a guest way more interesting and cooler than myself. And tonight, I have the very spooky Amanda Troop. How are you, Amanda?
I'm haunted.
You are haunted. Now, if you're just listening, and you're missing out on some good TV right here, is Amanda looks a little spooky and I think is about to go to a seance.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, a seance-themed Halloween party,
okay.
And I've got my take on the Tim Burton aesthetic with very dark eyes. Oh, and my cat just jumped up behind me. I mean, it's just magical over here.
Yeah, it is magical, and I think the headphones really complete the outfit.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. They're of the time period. This is what people wore in the 1800s.
Exactly. Like otherwise, you can't hear the ghost properly.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the cat aesthetic too in the background.
Thank you. Yeah, he likes to be involved.
Yeah, that's good. Which one is this?
This is Norbert.
Norbert,
named after the dragon from Harry Potter.
Oh, that is he a bit of a dragon too, or?
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
As far as cats go, he's very brave and he doesn't breathe fire or anything, but his purrs are really, really loud.
Oh, that's a good skill to have as a cat. That is a good skill.
And he's best friends with Sophie, our dog.
That is good. I need to have Sophie as a guest too, because she's pretty popular on internet as well.
I know.
We need to have that set up again, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Perhaps another show. You're more popular than Sophie still on Twitter? Because she was raking up followers.
I haven't checked, actually. I don't know of late. I mean, I would say that we're about tied.
Oh, you're tied? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to compete with a cute dog like Sophie.
I know. She's so talented.
She is so talented.
Yeah.
But so are you, and that's why I invited you to the show, of course. And we got a new look. What do you think of the new look?
I like it.
Yeah.
It's very dark, alleyway chic.
Yeah, I like it. It's good, and we're gonna have some neon.
Yeah. Or like a sophisticated brownstone apartment.
Yeah, I can see it, like a studio apartment.
Modern exposed brick kind of a thing.
That is nice. Yeah. I should actually do my own background too, because now it's just a little hodgepodge of all kinds of garbage. I'm not sure if you remember this guy.
Yes, of course I remember. I still remember when suddenly there was a Buttons account commenting on everything, and we were like, "What is going on?"
I know, terrible.
And he's so funny. And we were like, "Well, all right, yeah."
I still feel somewhat bad about that whole thing. Not bad, but just like, I should have asked first. But hey,
you saw an opportunity and you took it.
I took it, yeah.
And in this case, it worked out.
If I would have gotten bad feedback or like a comment, I would have killed that immediately.
Yeah.
But I'm glad.
Yeah. I feel like you made that pretty clear, actually, from the very beginning. Yeah. So that was another big factor in it being like, oh no, this is fun.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. No, I'm glad that worked out. And then it turned into my whole own thing. And now I get to have a show with cool guests like yourself.
Yeah.
How
pretty
cool is that? How cool is that?
I know. It's like a real internet success story kind of a thing. It's really neat. Yeah.
I could use a little bit more of the success though, the success juice. That would be great. But it's work. It's the grind, man. We're working on it. We're getting
working on it. Yeah, you just have to keep plugging away.
Keep plugging. That's what we're doing. But so, Amanda, we have known each other for quite some time. We've never met though. Like I've been to LA twice and we've never met. Next time I come to LA, we should probably go hang out for a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is the Halloween episode, and it's almost a tradition now because my last two Halloween episodes have been with you. So I say we do that every year. But you're the
I'm
perfect,
into it.
You're the perfect Halloween guest.
I'm into it.
Yeah. But for
I
people
love it.
who do not know who you are, Amanda, who are you and what is it that you do?
So I'm an actor and a voice actor, and I work in TV and film, and I do animation, I do commercials, video games, and I also have been doing more stuff with Brandon Jones's company, which is Easy Allies, joining him on Twitch streams and doing Fiasco Knots and creating, well, not creating, but voicing characters in this new show called Boxpeek that's being produced by Kyle Bosman as part of a Easy Allies production. So yeah, so I'm fairly busy.
Yeah, it sounds busy.
This last summer, I was in an episode of Misfits and Monsters from Bobcat Goldthwait on True TV, and I had a movie come out called The Death of Superman, where I played Maggie Sawyer and also Terry Henshaw in that, and that was a lot of fun. So, fairly busy, and I've got new projects. I recorded a bunch of stuff this year that I can't even talk about for next year, but I am a working actor.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Because I bet there's a lot of people who are not getting all these gigs, and you're one of the good ones. So you get all these jobs. How does it work for you at your level? Is it still you chasing it down, or is it like people draw you out of a database saying we need to have this type of voice? Like I have very limited understanding of that subject. So how does it work? How do they find Amanda Troop when they have a project that they need someone for?
Well, so generally speaking, and I think unless you're a very big celebrity, it works the same for most of your career. So I have agents, and they'll get project breakdowns. So like a casting director or a company will say, we're looking to cast these kinds of characters in these roles. And they'll send that to the agents, and the agents will go, okay, these are the people that we represent that would be right for those roles. So then they select the ones that they want to submit auditions. We record our auditions. We either go into the agency to record or record at home. And then sometimes the agents will submit all of the auditions. Sometimes they'll listen and decide, okay, out of like the 10 I requested, I think these are the top 5. Those will go to the casting. And then a lot of times, the casting directors will be getting hundreds to thousands of submissions on these different parts. So then they have to go through and listen to each person. And you just have to kind of hope that you're part of that final round of people. But, the odds are crazy. So you just keep improving your craft and leaving it all in the take and hoping that someone will go, oh yeah, I like that. Let's use her voice today.
Oh, that's good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
My favorite is always when you tweet something out when something has finally aired or after the fact. And like, oh, I just watched that with my kid and you're in that. And then I try to like be super cool with my kid, and she's 4, so she doesn't really care much.
Yeah.
But it's because you've been in quite a bit that I've seen, and it's still so cool for me. And like, and then I hear it when I try to hear for it, but I've probably watched stuff that you are in, and I had no idea it was you until I see the credits, and then I'm like, super cool, even though nobody cares in this family that I have cool friends. But how did you get into this? Like, because you do voice specifically, but also like acting. Was voice something you always targeted, or is that something that just naturally happened for you?
Yeah, I didn't target it initially. I moved to LA when I was 19 to pursue TV and film. And I hadn't quite realized at the time that voiceover was a part of an acting career. I don't know who I thought those people were that were doing the voices, because I grew up watching cartoons and listening to audiobooks, and I don't know why I didn't connect like, oh, that's an actor. But it took me a couple of years of being out here before I went, oh, and I would love to do that. Not just like, oh yeah, well, that's another thing I might do. No, I was like, oh man, if I could be on a animated show, that would be an amazing job. And so at that time I enrolled myself in a class because you can never stop training, and I wanted to learn more about voiceover. So I enrolled myself in a class, and it was for commercial voiceover. And I went to the teacher after a few classes, and I said, I feel like I would be better in animation. And at the time he was like, well, it's really hard to break into animation. So just focus on commercial first. And I said, okay. But I was disappointed. And at the time, I had a movie that I was going to be filming in Illinois, and I was feeling like, okay, things are moving ahead theatrically. I don't need to do this right now. But on that movie, I met a woman named Catherine Miller, who is the production manager. And as I did some silly voice. And she was like, oh, do you do voiceover? And I said, well, I don't know. I was told it would be really hard. I want to do animation. And she didn't accept that answer. No. And she said, listen, if you fly yourself to Buffalo, you can stay at my place. I will get you free recording time so you can record your demo. Yeah. So then, of course, I had to do that.
Yeah, of course.
So I did do that. And then I had this demo that I was pleased with, but I didn't know if I should reach out to agents or not. And I had a few different people who I admired who did voiceover listen to it, and they were like, yeah, you should go start. And I was like, oh, really? So then I made myself a list of 10 agents, and most of them were reaches, like that they were, I thought, probably out of my reach. Yeah. And one of my top choices was CESD. And I submitted my demo, and I burned it on a CD, and I decorated it like a little kid's bedroom because, I'm very childlike and I have a playfulness. So I submitted this CD with a cover letter and everything. And of all the 10, CESD reached out to me. My agent, Kathy Lizio, emailed me, and I was like, oh, man. Yeah. And she asked me if I was AFTRA and if I was available to audition on Tuesday. And this was like Thursday or Friday. Yeah. And I wrote back, yes and yes. And then I got in the car and I drove to AFTRA because at the time, SAG and AFTRA hadn't merged. So I was already in SAG, but that meant I could be like through their sister union policy, I could be brought into AFTRA. So I drove to AFTRA, just, gave them my credit card, joined AFTRA, and then I worked super duper hard all weekend coming up with my audition for Tuesday, because she said, bring in the characters you do. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I should do that. And so I wrote like a scenario where all these different characters go to the zoo together, and it's like a magical zoo. So I ended up doing like 16 different characters plus animal noises in a 1-minute audition. And like, it's just one of those things. Like they say success is when they say that success is when preparation meets opportunity. And so I had opportunity, and I was like, oh man, here we go.
Comes the prep.
Here comes the prep. And so I just went in and I gave it my all, and they liked me. Yeah. They really liked me. Yeah. So my first agent out the gate was like I couldn't have asked for a better place to be. And so I've been with them for about a decade now. Yeah. And it's incredible. Yeah, they're amazing.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I always like it when people really do what they love doing, and that it just works out for them. When you do all these characters, do you have, because you get to do some famous characters now and stuff that's been around for a long time, is it extra super special when you get like, do you get like a letter? Is it still a letter, or is it an email saying, hey, we're looking for this character? And do you ever go like, oh my God, I love this character and I would love to give it a voice?
Are you asking like when I get to like audition for it, or when I get to play it?
Both, I guess. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like when I get an email, like I'm not going to say what it is, but I have an email in my inbox right now. Yeah. And I was like, oh, dang, they're casting for that? Yeah. That's exciting. Like whenever I've gotten to audition for Harley Quinn, I'm always like, ooh, yay. It's, or something like, I got to audition for the Walking Dead franchise a bunch. And every time I got anything from Telltale, I was like, oh, yes, it was so fun. Yeah. The dialogue was really well written. And so, but there's also the opposite of when you get something and you're really, really excited about it. Sometimes you overthink it. Yeah. I remember I auditioned for Steven Universe,
Mm-hmm.
and I spent like 4 hours on it, on one audition. And I wanted it to be perfect, but honestly, that's too much.
Yeah.
That's too much. If you can't, I don't know, if you can't get it in the first hour, maybe walk away.
Yeah.
Take a walk, meditate, have a snack, focus on something else, come back to it. Because but it's amazing how we get, these things can be so, when you're working in a field that you're really passionate about, it's hard to not get invested in each opportunity. And the way I've sort of changed it for myself is, okay, I get to play. If I book the job, great. If I don't book the job, I got to act and do something fun for a little bit and submit an audition that I'm proud of and work that I'm proud of, and that's a good feeling.
That does sound pretty cool. What I always wonder about is when you do these voices, you do a character. Especially, well, not maybe especially, but sometimes in video games where characters are sometimes good, but sometimes they are not super good. Like, do you ever have a line where you, when you read it, you're like, oh, roll your eyes, but I'm still going to make the best out of it? Like, does it happen that you have just a bad character that does something like that bothers you on a personal level, or but you still have to put like the work in, or is that not something that happens often?
It doesn't happen too often. That might be because I'm morally corrupt, but I don't think that's what it is. No, I mean, when you play a villain, you can't think I'm playing a villain. You have to think I'm playing someone who thinks they know the best thing for everyone. And they are they believe in their heart that this is the best thing to do. And if that involves destruction and mayhem, or if that involves taking away the freedoms of other people, you can't play it from a perspective of, oh, I don't like this person. Because once you do that, you're not that character. You're that character so the hero can have their journey. Because I really don't see that there are a lot of things where at the end of the day, the bad guy or girl or person get if they win, it is only as part of a message, but they don't usually win. So in the meantime, your job in the story and in the overall project is to ground that character in reality and give them believable passion. And so I like it when I get to play someone that's a little bit challenging that way, who operates on a different moral compass than other people. But if I ever got a script that there was something in it that maybe I personally didn't believe in, and it wasn't in a context like that, let's say a political thing, where I was like, okay, but this has never happened.
No.
But if it did, I would have to sit and go, is this something that I really want to be a part of? And my agents would understand that. People have different comfort levels. Like some people are very uncomfortable with any kind of sexual content, and sometimes there's sexual content in video games. And so, to know that about yourself, or some people really they can't handle the violence. They don't want to be involved in that.
Exactly.
So you just decide where your comfort level is, but it also is based on the kind of story and how it's told. And to me, I see that there are certain stories that might have things that I wouldn't like in my life, but that I still think they have value in being told.
Well, I think it's interesting because, a lot of people, well, now I think it's more on a service, but there's so much talent and passion behind these characters that we kind of always took for granted. When I was a kid, like, I never thought about the actors behind the show that I was watching. You took it for granted. So I like hearing that kind of stuff from behind the scenes, and how much that matters to you. Because we had a whole hubbub about voice actors not getting the credit that they deserved. Is that better now? Did that pay off in the end? Because I kind of fell off the radar, I think, at some point. Well, unless you were involved, yeah.
Well, the strike ended, and we got a few things, but it's still, the amount of effort and sometimes damage that happens from actors working in games, it's still not quite equitable. We've got, now we have a secondary payment structure for the very biggest games where I'll explain this a little bit more. Basically, like TV, film, commercials, we have a secondary payment structure. So we have a thing called residuals. And so like if I make a commercial and that commercial airs, I get paid because they're using my likeness. Yeah. With video games, we record it and get the session fee, and then they have that performance for the life of the game with no further remuneration for the actors. And so now we have in place that for the very biggest games, if they sell, I think, over 1 million units, then there's a secondary payment that comes into effect for the actor. Okay. It's a tough road, and it's hard to get, I think with things like video games, like cable television, there's no way for when the contracts were being started and these jobs were coming up, there was no like sense of what these industries would grow to be. And so now we're sort of having to go back a little bit and being like, well, this is much, much bigger than we thought it would be. Yeah. And you're requiring also, they require a level of acting that is extremely high. Yeah. The very best games have some unbelievable talent. And I mean, I don't know if you're playing any Red Dead, but the voice acting is, it's amazing. I know I already talked about the Telltale games, but like, this is incredible work. I mean, it is like award-winning. And then on top of all of that, let's say you're doing mocap. So now they're capturing not just your voice, but your movement too. And so that's even more of your performance. Yeah. And then they're like, and now you're going to fight and you're going to scream and you're going to die and you're going to act like you've had acid poured on you. Yeah. Or, one of the toughest sessions I ever had was just everything was yelled at a volume that you could hear across a distance. That alone is incredibly exhausting. But if you think about most of the combat games or games like Red Dead, if you're talking and you're on a horse, you've got to project and carry, and that's a very exhausting proposition for an actor. So we've made some progress and some gains. Hopefully we'll make more. I think that gamers in the community, I think that they recognize the value of good voice acting. And so I think the consumer power will help us a lot because these are immersive things. I don't think you would want to play, oh,
the light went off.
I'll go back.
Off,
my screen went off. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. It was just the monitor to turn off, I think.
Yeah. So what I was saying was that these are immersive things. So you wouldn't want to be like in the middle of a game and then have someone come in that just sounds like, oh yeah, that's Sally from accounting. Yeah. Like, hello there, sir. Can I offer you a bag of oats? Yeah. You're like, oh, I'm not in the Old West anymore. You know,
and it's crazy how good these games are, because that's kind of the games that I play. They are like super well performed, and that wasn't the case like 20 years ago, or maybe even 10 years ago. So it was always weird to me that the actors were not being treated like, just because it's a digital phase doesn't mean that the work is still there, right? That's good-ish to hear that at least there's progress. I guess there's still battles to win and other important stuff to do. But that was a good update, because for some reason, like, everybody knew about it, and then it just I guess because the strike ended, and then people stopped caring because they're getting their stuff again. Not really.
Well, I mean, you know, it doesn't necessarily behoove us to like,
no.
You know,
Yeah, I guess.
Like, now we're working again, so that's a good thing. I mean, that's what we all want.
Yeah,
none of us want to not be working.
No, that's true. Well, that's cool. I'm glad that worked out, and that will only get better as everything improves. Like, the more they ask you, I think the more rights and opportunities you should have. When you do all this stuff, do you still have moments where you're like, oh my god, I can't believe this is my life, that I'm paying the bills of this? Like, do you have any cool stories there? Because I have these kind of moments like all the time.
I mean, like every time I book a job, I have that moment, because it feels like it's like a miracle, because there's so many like talented people out there. So when you get something, you're like, oh, I'm in that. Yeah. I'm doing this. That's so neat. So I would say, especially in voiceover, you know, the working people in Los Angeles, it's a tight-knit group, and but everyone is really, 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 really good. So you go into a room and you're like, oh, I'm working with okay, cool. Or like, I mean, I've had the great opportunity to work with Fred Tatasciore on many, many projects, probably because I think Fred works on every single project out there.
Ever,
But every time I'm like, Fred's here. This is so cool. I'm working with Fred Tatasciore. Like, what a great life, you know? So, I mean, it's just constant.
Yeah. What was the character, if you have such a thing, that really blew your mind the most, that you got to play that character? What's your favorite one? Or role. It doesn't have to be a character, I guess.
Let me think about that.
There must be so many. Yeah. There must be,
I don't know. I mean,
like picking your favorite child.
Getting to be Maggie Sawyer was really cool, because there was a lot of history behind the character. The character has existed since the 80s. So I think it was one of my first times playing a character that was decades of other people playing her in different storylines, and so that was a unique experience, getting to be part of the tapestry of actors that create the character. Like, you think about like the different people that have played the Joker over time, and who's played Batman, and who've played, I mean, Hamlet, for example. It's like each of us adds a color to the story of this character, and like whatever their hero's journey is. And so that to me is pretty cool. But I also, I mean, I was excited. I got to be a Moogle in Final Fantasy.
That is pretty cool. Cool.
So
the Moogles are pretty awesome.
But I mean, and that was just like, you know, sounds.
Yeah, but still.
So,
hey.
One thing. So I didn't have a role in it, but I got to work on Star Trek Beyond, the movie, doing creature sounds for ADR for the aliens.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm Star Trek now.
Yes, you are.
Like that. That's insane. Yeah. That's crazy. Like, what is this life? I'm so lucky.
Okay, I am very curious. If you get that job and you're like, okay, we need some sounds for aliens, Like, where do you draw from? Or is it just like, that's just your mind that feels, okay, well, do you get background info on this? Okay, this is from a planet with a lot of water, so, or is it just, they just give you a list and you can do whatever you want? This is just me being curious.
Yes. Okay. So, it depends. Sometimes you'll get a picture. Like, here's a sketch of the concept art. That's helpful. Sometimes you get a picture and a bio. Sometimes you just get a bio or a history of the character's planet. With Star Trek Beyond, it was right there on the screen. So we could say, okay, we're these little like toad-like creatures. What would that sound like? And then you kind of, for me, I like to find it in my body. Like, what does it feel like if I'm like round and small and like, and I start to like make little sounds and see like, what is that, and sometimes I'll like cut my hands to make the sound different. Different people do different weird things. But yeah, you just sort of like feel your way into it. And then when you find it, hopefully you have a director that's going to be like, yeah, that one. That's what that sounds like to me too. But yeah, you just kind of go on. I don't know. you play pretend and you let your imagination tell you what that character sounds like.
Yeah, it feels to me that you need a special type of brain that can just get that done. Like, if you would ask me right now, how, like, one, I don't do a voice. Two, I wouldn't even know where to begin what an alien might sound like. But it just sounds like a pretty good match. Did you already had that skill, or did you develop it over time? Did you get better at that kind of stuff, or how does it work in your mind?
How does it work in your mind? That's a good question. That's I don't have an answer for that one, but I think the whole like 10,000 hours of practice, and how sometimes people don't know that they've practiced their whole lives to do something until they're suddenly doing it. So, I mean, I just always was a little bit weird and would make sounds, and my parents encouraged me to be creative. And so, I spent a lot of my childhood like fully in an imaginary version of my world. Like playing pretend was like a full-time occupation for me. So I think that that's part of it. But I also really think that if as a parent you have a child that's creative in that way, like my parents never told me to stop being creative. I was always allowed to have time to be creative. And they offered me opportunities where I could explore that more. But I didn't even know I wanted to be an actor until I was like 11-ish, because my mom signed me up for a musical theater course at the local community theater. And I wasn't into it at all. No. I was freaked out by it. It was nerve-wracking, and like parts of it were fun, but I was afraid. And it wasn't until we were in performance that I was like, oh no, wait, I love it. I really love this. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess you just have to remove judgment and be willing to play. And then that leads you to the discovery of what is possible, because there are voice actors who don't do different sounds. They just do their voice in different scenarios. And that is also a totally legitimate way to this career, because you put me in a different scenario with the same voice, it's going to come out different. If I'm, I don't know, in London during the plague or something, that's going to be a different kind of a character than if I live on planet Mars. But I'm a housewife on planet Mars. So there's so much range within your normal voice, and then there's like extra play on top.
That's cool though. Like I have a little girl, and her world is filled with imagination right now, and I just love watching her do that. And I will never tell her to stop. So who knows where she'll end up? Maybe she'll start doing voices.
Yeah.
She's learning 3 languages right now, so everything is a weird sound what comes out of her mouth. But
oh my gosh.
well, I speak Dutch. My wife speaks French, and English. Just you kind of catch it.
Yeah.
But
that's so great.
Well, I hope so. It's probably very confusing for teachers when you start throwing out Dutch every now and then. But you said you wanted to be an actress or actor when you were 11-ish. If your 11-year-old self would see what you do today, would she be like completely mind blown?
I would have to think so.
Yeah.
But I've never ever thought of that.
Oh no?
I've never thought of that. No, mostly I think many actors and creative people relate to this. We're often struggling with the idea of when will I have made it? And I'm at a point in my life and my career where I'm letting that go, because making it there's no destination. It's this long, long, long race, and we're just jogging along. But it's very difficult to look at yourself and go like, today I've decided that I have reached a point of success.
Yeah.
Today I am the dream that I had when I was a child.
Yeah.
So I've never had that thought, but now that you asked me, but now that you asked me, I mean, really, that gives me that makes me feel really good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because I would go like, oh, neat.
Yeah. I'm so cool later on. Yeah. That is,
I never thought of that.
That makes me happy too. That makes you happy, because it, like, you should be proud of everything you've done, but like in being able to impress your child self, like that, for me, that's the goal. Like that I start doing cool stuff now, when I would get a chance to talk to my 12-year-old self, they would be like, what? I can't believe it. Because there has been some gaps where it could have gone the other way. But that's good to know. But you kind of touched on it on your path to success, and you're always like, okay, now I'm going to make it. You've done so much. You've done so many cool stuff. Is there still something for you that you target, or a thing that's next, or something you would love to do, or that you're working towards?
All the time.
Yeah?
All the time. I mean, so it has been said as an actor that the moment you get a job, you're unemployed.
Yeah.
So like every time you book something, it's like, okay, cool. Now what? What's next? I mean, we're in like a renaissance of television right now. There's so much great scripted content. I want to be on shows like The Magicians, or like, I can't even think of things right now, but like there's so many great shows out there. Like one of my goals is I want to be hooked up to like some kind of a rigging thing so I can fly.
Yeah.
And then I want to cast spells.
Okay.
So like that's out there. I want that.
Yeah.
I want to be on Star Trek.
Yeah.
And we've got not just Discovery, but now we've got like I think 2 more Star Trek shows coming out. I'm targeting that. I want that really badly.
Yeah.
I've gotten to be in the Batman universe, which is amazing, but like if I ever got to play Harley Quinn, that would be really like unbelievable. So like, there's always something that you are going towards and that you are hoping to get to do. But sometimes you don't know what that job is going to be. That's going to be the thing that changes your life or your perspective on your career. So in a sense, there's no there's definitely no path.
No.
Every actor is just stumbling about getting there the best they can, even at the highest levels. There's no like formula to follow. So, but there's always the desire to be engaged in telling a story.
Yeah.
And so that may change over time, and you just keep pursuing it.
That's pretty cool. Because besides all this, you also do a lot of theater work still. I know you're doing a lot of improv. Because that feels like a completely additional skill, improv. Because when I look at improv, I'm like, wow, that is... You can prepare for... Well, I guess you can get good at it, but you can prepare for it. How did you get into that? And because you have hit some pretty big... It's not just improv that you do. I see some of the, I think it's plays, where you hit some pretty big IPs. Like I've seen you do Star Trek, Glow, I think.
So those are all improv.
Oh,
those are all improv.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So a word on improv.
Yeah.
To any aspiring actors, voice actors, on camera, whatever. Improv is one of the best things, actually, to any person. Yeah. Improv is one of the best things that you can learn because it brings you into the present. And I think with actors, there is a definite tendency to go, okay, this is how I'm going to play my role. The end. This is what my character would do. This is how my character would react. I'm going to play it this way. Yeah. And if you play it that way, then you're playing a concept. You're not playing a person. But if you add a little bit of that, it's okay. I'm going to react to what the other person gives me. If they surprise me, I'm going to go with that and see how that changes me. And improv helps you be more okay with that, because it can be very scary, and it should be scary. Yeah. So anyway, I highly encourage anybody to go and take some improv classes. It's incredible. The improv that I've been doing of late is through a company called Improv Theater, and they're one of the only, actually I think they are the only improv company to be written up in American Theater Magazine. Because what they do is they do long form narrative improv based on different styles, like Tennessee Williams, like Sondheim, like Jane Austen. And what that involves is you learn that genre by reading it, watching movies, watching plays, investing in it, learning the tropes of the genre, and then you're writing on your feet. Yeah. So we'll do an hour long to an hour and a half long show based in that world. So I started studying with improv theater because I found that improvising a full play was like, I was like, ooh, how exciting. That's so cool. So I signed up for classes, and then through that school, they developed a student company, and we started doing shows there through Improv Studio. And the first show of that new development was this Star Trek show. Yeah. And so with Star Trek, we've done 4 seasons, meaning we've been doing this for 4 years of our show. And we each created a character that exists in the Star Trek universe. We have our own ship, the USS McGinley. Yeah. And we know that we're in a timeline that's similar with The Next Generation. And we've been telling these ongoing stories. And each time we come onto stage, our characters get a little bit deeper, a little bit richer, because we're exploring those relationships. So Star Trek, and we did, based off of Glow, we did a show called Glam. That's with my group Ripley. Ripley Improv. We also do Dystopia based off of like the Hunger Games and Divergent. Lots of different things. And my improv group, actually, just last week we wrapped production on our first improvised feature film. Oh wow! Because we want to move into film and TV production. So it's a really cool world to explore, and it's neat to see like what characters are up there. I wish I could like see that live, but I'm a little too far with it. So that feature film is it something we can all enjoy soon, or soon enough? Ideally, you will all be able to enjoy it at some point.
At some point.
But it's low budget, so it'll take us a while to get through post-production.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it looks like we might be coming away with 5 different films because we improvised a full feature each day of shooting with a different suggestion and a different genre and different hair and makeup and different set dressing and the whole thing. So we might make it into a little TV series. Yeah. We haven't decided. We won't really know until we start to look at the footage and figure out what we really have there.
Yeah, I can't even begin to imagine how complicated that must have been, but also how much fun, I guess.
It was so much fun.
I will keep an eye out for that. Let me know, like tweet me when that is out, because I will sling it out there to everyone.
Great, good.
That's good. So, speaking of something that came out today as we're recording, today was the first episode of Boxpeek.
Woo-woo!
Now, if people might not know what Boxpeek is, can you give it a quick recap on what the hell is Boxpeek?
So Boxpeek is a very creative creation from the mind of Kyle Bosman, who's part of Easy Allies. It is a sort of a satire on shows like Pokemon and Digimon, or on Beyblade, shows that are about worlds created around a game. And like in Pokemon, everyone loves Pokemon. Everyone plays Pokemon. So Kyle created a world where everyone loves Boxpeek. And Boxpeek is a game where you each have a box and you hide in your box. And the first person to peek at the other person without them counter peeking for 4 consecutive seconds wins. Yeah. So it's very simple, but it's very silly, obviously.
Yeah.
Episode 1 is out. Episode 2 comes out on Monday.
Yeah.
And I played Jordy, and he's from a place called Fairboat Island. And on Fairboat Island, they're not allowed to play Boxpeek. And so he's run away from home so he can play Boxpeek.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched the first episode today, and I think I've seen it before. I'm not sure how much more edit has gone into that when it premiered. I think it was at the Easy Allies concert. It is definitely unique. I loved it. It was just so special. But when I heard your voice, it sounded like a lot of work on your voice. Was it hard, or was it...
No, it's not too hard. It just sort of lives in me. So it's not that hard. I mean, the main thing is, as long as I'm not yelling, it's okay. I can do this for a long time. As a voice actor, you train a lot, and you warm up your voice, and you rest your voice, and sometimes you do overdo it. But no, he's not. He's not
bad. Okay, I was like, wow, how can you even keep that up? But I guess it's takes, so it's not like you are, or do you just put that all out there in one sitting?
Oh no, we did multiple recording sessions.
Okay, yeah, and that was just episode 1, because there's going to be 4 or 5 episodes, I think.
There's going to be 5 in the first season, and then there'll be another 5 in the next season. That's
just crazy. I am very much looking forward to the rest of Boxpeek. Well, it's probably not the most unique thing, but when you see an opportunity like that, it made sense, I guess, for them to ask you. But was it something you got excited about real quick?
Oh yeah. I was like, Kyle's making an animated series, and he wants me to be the lead. I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. Yeah. I'm Jordy, but I'm also like most of the women.
Okay. Yeah, because the Easy Allies.
But yeah, I mean, as soon as I was asked, I was like, I'm in. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. I mean, and the other thing I didn't mention is that it's all papercraft. So it's hand drawn and animated with like quick little movements of popsicle sticks and strings. I mean, this show is, it took so much effort on Kyle's part, and like
it's nuts.
Like the little bit that I could bring to it to help bring those characters to life. I'm just pleased to get to do it
Yeah.
because it's like it's amazing what he did. It's
Yeah.
I can't, I'm stunned. I mean, he thought he would get it done at the end of 2017
Yeah.
and now it's, fall of 2018. But when you look at it, it's clear why, because he taught himself how to do this kind of animation. And it's, I mean, it's no joke.
No, I watched it. I was like, wow, this must have been so much work. Like, if you haven't seen it yet, it's probably hard to imagine what it even looks like. But it's basically watching... Like, South Park was done in the beginning with paper, right? It was just stop frame. But this is someone actually moving the parts in front of a camera. And there's definitely editing there, but it is... Wow.
It's sort of a combination between animation and puppetry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's probably good with paper puppetry. So if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend checking it out. I think,
and you can get the shirt now too.
The shirt, the dinosaur shirt. Yeah, that is pretty good.
It's a must-have.
It is a must-have for all the fans. But I think personally, when I saw this first episode, this is a show that can go out there like way beyond their current audience, and that's what I would love to see. That this is gonna rake up like 1 million, 2 million, 3 million views all of a sudden.
I hope so.
And who knows what happens after a show like that? Kyle probably is gonna like lose his mind if this becomes too popular and people are gonna demand more.
I think if the demand grows to be very, very large, there might be a potential for more help.
Maybe not a one man
becoming
show,
involved. Yeah.
But that's pretty cool. Is that something you want to do more often? Because this is just a volunteer basically project. Where did they actually pay you for it? You don't have to answer that. But is this something I can't imagine thinking when you're working like, I want to do a paper puppet show. How does that even fit in? Does it open your mind to other opportunities you haven't thought of before, or how was that?
No, I just thought of it as an opportunity to do an animated show.
Yeah.
And, I haven't yet been the lead of an animated show. And so I wanted that was a good chance for me to practice that as well.
Yeah.
And to carry a season arc of a character. Yeah. So it was also mutually beneficial for me.
Yeah.
But as far as like I don't work really for free anymore at this point in my career. But when a project is awesome, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you're like, let's do that. Let's make this.
Yeah. Because it does sound like a lot of work. Like it is it's basically a job.
Wait, can you repeat that?
When I look at the production value, like this is not something you do on. It doesn't look like something you would just do on the side. It's like an actual gig that you had to sit through. So they're so lucky to have you. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah, thank you. I feel lucky to be involved with it. Yeah. So I think it's a mutual feeling. But it doesn't hurt that the recording booth is in our garage.
Yeah, that does help, I guess.
So
it's very funny to me because I can't imagine Kyle when he created this in his mind would think that like the whatever it is 14 months later that this would be a very interesting thing for you to have on your resume to show off to other people, because it is quite a unique thing to do. So that Kyle, so is it something you would put on like a demo reel or?
Maybe. I mean, things are so different now as far as like how people can see your work. Everything's online, so it may in and of itself be enough of a calling card.
Yeah.
I already have young boys on my voiceover demo, so I don't know that I would necessarily put Jordy's performance on my demo in place of something that I already have.
Yeah.
And I don't know with what frequency my demos are used to get me my jobs.
Yeah.
So I think it's I think it's better to have the product itself and being able to share that and remind people that it's out there.
Yeah.
I think in and of itself, that it's already doing what I would hope it to do.
Well, it's very interesting. I just love watching that whole team work on something so passionately, and then having you the lead. And my timing was, of course, perfect. That I invited you this week, which was not planned because nobody knew it was going to launch today when we were recording. But that just worked out perfectly. But well, that's good. That was kind of the what I wanted to talk to you about. But I have one more question. I know a lot of people who listen to the show, like they are interested in getting into the business. If you would give them one tip on how to start their success, because it's hard to say like you have to do this and this to be successful. But how would they increase their chances to get into this world?
Wherever you are, if you want to do acting, find a class, take classes, explore what it means to be an actor. There's no aspect of my career where my education didn't help me. I think sometimes, especially with voiceover, there's a misconception that it's making voices, but what it actually is acting with just your voice. Yeah. So it actually requires even greater skill as an actor. Yeah. So go find classes. Like if there's a local theater or community college or anything like that, they're probably going to have some kind of a class. Get involved, especially if it's community theater. I started in community theater and I would just audition for shows and do the shows. And doing those shows was one of the biggest educations that I could have had. I also read like Uta Hagen and the Stanislavski books, and there's fantastic podcasts out there about like the acting business. One of them that I really like is called Audrey Helps Actors, and like you learn so much. But like there's also like I think The Frame talks about the acting business. Like look that up. Oh, there's Talkin' Tunes, which is with Rob Paulson, who's the voice of Pinky from Pinky and the Brain, and he talks to all of these different animation stars and actors, and like is like how was your experience in this career, because it's all different. So you could listen to those. I mean, that's free. My friend Kiff has a show called All Over Voiceover. Again, you can listen to that and like learn so much. There's just so much to learn. So that's part A of my tip. Part B of my tip: read all the time. Learn storytelling. Understand what it means to be part of a story, because I think actors sometimes think that it's all about them, but it's actually about the picture, the whole picture. So if you're reading a book, don't just care about the hero's journey. Look at the side characters and think about their motivations, and just get these stories in you, and read real things, like read biographies, and like just learn. Your job as an actor is to express an experience that someone else hasn't had. But often you also haven't had it. So you have to do the research, you have to invest, and you have to educate yourself so that you can be faithful to the reality of that character.
That is very good. I like it. I have no acting in me. I used to do theater as a kid, but that was the end of that. So if you're listening to this and you were like, oh, that's great, listen to Amanda, because she knows her stuff. Clearly. If people discovered you on this podcast because they didn't know who you are, and you would have to send them to one thing to check out your work, where would you send them?
I think Twitter is the best place. I'm at Amanda. I think at Amanda _Troop. Or wait,
I thought it was just at Amanda Troop because that's what I have on my screen all the time.
Is it at Amanda Troop? Can you tell me?
I can't. I'm going to check it out now because I have this graphic for you that just says at Amanda Troop. So.
Oh well, then that must be what it is. Well, so I'm at Amanda Troop on Twitter, and I think the same thing on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Twitter, I'm going to post everything. You're gonna get links to my work. You're gonna and I interact. I do interact on Twitter. On Instagram though, you'll get behind the scenes footage, pictures of me on jobs and things like that. Red carpet stuff. A lot of that stuff propagates to Twitter as well. So if you just want to do one, Twitter's probably the one. But both are good.
Both are good. Yeah. Both are good. It is Amanda_Troop, by the way.
It is.
Yeah, it's going to be great for me to fix this in post edit, but that's not going to be too much trouble. That's on me. But that's good. I always call this this segment podcast and chill, where you can throw out whatever you want to do. So anything you want to plug or promote? I
mean, we kind of talked about it,
I know.
We talked about Boxpeek, so catch Boxpeek, watch Boxpeek. It's on YouTube on the Easy Allies channel and on YouTube. If you're going to be at the LA Comic-Con this weekend, I'm going to be on a panel tomorrow. I don't know. Okay. When does this air?
Monday. So.
Well, then you missed it.
You missed it.
You missed it. Yeah. But I'm on the Voice Natal panel at LA Comic-Con. The Ripley films will keep updating people about that as they get produced, and then I've got a bunch of things I can't talk about till they come out next year.
That's the best stuff. Well, next year Halloween we're going to have you on, and then maybe we can talk about all that stuff then.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I know definitely that at least one of these things will be out by then.
Okay, that's cool. Like, we all love a mystery. Well, that's great. I guess for me, if you're listening, you don't know who I am, then that's very weird. But you can find me at the Hashtagonist everywhere, and that's probably good enough for now because you're already listening. So, but Amanda, this has been an absolute delight. I'm so happy that you agreed to come on the show again. Oh,
of course, and enjoy your Halloween. Yes, I just want to reiterate that this is not my normal look. I'm going to a seance.
Yeah, no.
AKA a Halloween party after this.
You still pull it off. So usually
I'm pretty creepy right now.
No, it works.
It's on purpose.
Yeah, it is on purpose.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I hope you have a good weekend. I know you just had your birthday, and I think you have your anniversary coming up.
Yeah.
The reason why I remember that is because it was on the day that my daughter was born. So that
happy birthday to your daughter too.
Yeah, she's gonna be 4. It's unbelievable.
Oh my gosh.
It's nuts. But yeah, thank you so much. I hope you have a great seance, a great party, and we'll hopefully chat again. And if you're still listening to us, thank you for tuning in, and come again back next week, and we'll see who we have on then, because I do not know yet. Have a good night.